This is, of course, the 4th of July weekend, Independence Day. What does it mean to declare independence in the year 2014? Well, here's one way to look at it. It's the age of corporate politics, isn't it? That means we can't depend on leaders or parties. We're paying the price today for Thomas Jefferson's unfulfilled wish to, and I quote, crush in its birth the aristocracy of our moneyed corporations who dare already to challenge our government to a trial by strength and bid defiance to the laws of our country. That was Jefferson's wish. We didn't honor it. We're paying it today. This July 4th, politics is too important to be left to the politicians. The stakes are too high and the system is too broken. Citizen action is everyone's job now, and it will be as long as our political debate focuses on misplaced austerity and ignores the majority's yearnings for jobs, growth, and those things that government does best. But the problem isn't just with politicians or even with the political system as broken as it is. The problem is dependence itself. We call this holiday Independence Day, but the British didn't leave the United States the day we signed it. The war lasted for years. July 4th is the day we declared ourselves independent. Victory came when we first recognized that freedom is our natural state. Our country wasn't born with violence or even with the end of violence, but with the realization that freedom is discovered and claimed for yourself. It isn't granted by others. That's why we celebrate July 4th, 1776 as Independence Day, and not September 3rd, 1783, which is the day we finally got the British to leave this continent. That will disappoint the history-challenged right-wingers whose patriotic posturing is limited to talking about their odd pseudo-military fixation or the weird lingo they use, that echolalic Esperanto for rocking chair revolutionaries you hear all the time on Glenn Beck's show or Fox News. In the Revolutionary War, we fought for the principles of self-representation and economic freedom. These principles are under attack again today. That doesn't mean violence. There's no place for rhetorical violence or any other kind in today's debate. We can and we will win this without violence. We resisted Britain's state-sanctioned monopolies in 1776. Today's government-sanctioned corporations hang out on Wall Street, not by the Thames, but the spirit of the East India Company lives in the 5 banks which now control nearly 96% of the derivatives market in this country. Our financial oligarchs receive Treasury Department money, Federal Reserve giveaways, and get-out-of-jail free cards for a corporate crime wave that would make Al Capone blush. Economic injustices and other kinds of injustice will continue as long as wealthy contributors corrupt the political process. Many of us feel the president can and do much more to rein in Wall Street, create jobs, and defend Medicare and Social Security, and the Republicans are just out to lunch. But any likely opponent would probably be far worse if we let the Tea Party take over. So what we need to figure out is how politicians in this post-Citizens United, post-McCutcheon world can be manipulated into doing what we need to do instead of being prostituted to political power. So we must work around as well as within the electoral system. That means getting the truth out, speaking for the majority's views, and outlining the real choices we face, no matter what we're presented with in the ballot box. Sure, politicians can help win the war against media monopolies and publicly financed elections, but because of our system, they can't lead it. We have to do it for ourselves. We can't surrender our fate to them or anyone else. What we've learned in the years since we began this struggle is that the system itself must change, and that begins with a vision of something better. Revolution, said the Spanish thinker, is not the uprising against a pre-existing order, but the setting up of a new order that contradicts the traditional one. That's what we have to do. We have to imagine the things our leaders can't or won't imagine, and then work to bring them into being. Is that hard? Sure. But democracy isn't dead, not by a long shot. It's just that winning it back will take action. Independent action. Action that doesn't depend on a leader or a spokesperson or a party. Action that rejects even the most well-informed pessimism or the deepest despair. That kind of action needs an independence that comes from within. So happy Independence Day from the 0 Hour and me, Richard RJ Eskow.